Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, a very big island. That's right, G. de Man, it's British Columbia. Vancouver Island looks small on your map, but it's 600 kilometers long and 250 kilometers wide. It has mountains, ski resorts, and several cities. Victoria is almost 1 million people. So, big island. Welcome, Carolina. Hi, Alexi. Welcome, Chen. Welcome to our chat moderators, making sure our class goes smoothly. If you have questions, students, you can ask our moderators. Welcome, Frost, Fuang, Perrin. Welcome to our members. Lovely to have you all here. Harjot, Nipa, Panda. Good to have many of our regular viewers. Students, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. These are the websites that power these live lessons for us. They are our websites, not sponsors. They are filled with tools for you to get a high band score on your IELTS exam. Today we are looking at a reading section in this class. This reading is about 20th century Germany. Germany, often the epicenter of world affairs, and certainly a lot of our recent or current history is an evolution of what happened during that time period. So it's interesting to know if many of you want to understand the situation in Europe, the relations between Europe, Russia, United States. It's important to understand 20th century history. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Our website, students, where you find these reading materials, practice exams, they look like this. This is our academic one here at aehelp.com. You can click this big red button that's just above my head right there to join our premium IELTS package. It's a one-time payment. You get lifetime access. It doesn't cost a lot. It costs less than the subscription for 1 month for a lot of the other IELTS websites out there, and we have more materials. So you're in the right place here. For general IELTS, it's the green background. It's gieltshelp.com. Click that big red button there. That's just right above my head. Again, it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. When you click that button, you can use the code READ9, which will give you an additional 10% discount. Now, the price is different in different countries to match your local economy. If you're in Canada, it's $80. If you're in India, it's closer to $35. So not a lot of money for a lot of materials. And we will use the website today to do some reading and talk to students and get some answers, practice. It's great. It's an interactive website, of course. And you have apps for your phone as well that you can link to the website. So if you go to your app store, you can find Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help, and link it. All right. Jassim, I'm glad you like the videos. The website's got over 100 of them, well organized, and you get them on your apps too. Instagram, IELTS_AHelp, GIELTS Help. If you have questions about IELTS, immigration, studying abroad, English language, send us an email. We like getting emails. Adrian@aehelp.com, admin@aehelp.com. On Amazon, you find our books. Search for the titles. AE Helps Academic IELTS and GE Helps General IELTS. You can order the books and get the actual physical book. There's 2 academic, 2 general IELTS books, so lots there. Students, schedule from today until Saturday, the 23rd. Like I said, we have lots of classes this week. We didn't have classes last weekend, so this weekend or this week we're making up some classes. We had speaking yesterday. That was good. If you missed that, you can check it out. And then right now we have reading. We'll get into it in just a moment. Tomorrow we have Task 2 Writing. It's going to be a subscribers class. So make sure to subscribe to our channel. It's a really good idea when you're preparing for the IELTS exam. And then on Friday, we'll have Task 1 writing for members and listening part 1 and part 2 for subscribers. Then we'll do speaking for members and speaking for everyone on Saturday. Check out this recent release on our channel. It's a great video. You'll love it. Yes, you will. There you go. There it is. It's in the chat. Check that out when you have a minute. All right, reading strategies. So let's get right into it. We'll jump right into the lesson. And we will improve our English, improve our reading, fluency, and comprehension. So first of all, reading strategies. Ideally, what happens in the IELTS, okay? So IELTS academic, you have 3 passages. General, you have 3 sections, 5 passages. It's a little bit different, all right? But section 3 in the general IELTS is very similar to the passages in the academic IELTS. So to get a really good score in the general IELTS for those fast track visas where you get your visa a lot faster, your permanent residency visa much faster, you get more points if you get higher scores. To get high scores in the reading, you have to do really well in general IELTS reading section 3. So for those students who want to get quick visas for immigration, it's a good idea to look at academic reading passages even if you are preparing for general IELTS. Is that clear? Did everybody catch that? Okay, that was an important tip. A lot of people don't know this that do the general IELTS. All you know is, oh, I have to get a really good score like band 7 or more to get my fast track permanent residency visa to Canada or to another country. And then they're like, how do I do that? Well, skimming and scanning at that point is not enough. Okay, so searching for answers is not going to be enough for those fast track visas. All right. Okay. Everybody got it? You have to be able to read, understand, and answer. Right? So read, understand, mostly. You don't have to understand every word, and answer. Okay? That's your simple basic concept to get band 7 or more. Okay? Skim reading is not enough. We have a video for that. Check that video out. Okay? Harjot, that's right. You have to visualize. Yeah, absolutely. So you need to see the information. You must see it. How can you practice visualization? Anybody know? Yeah, Alexi, don't focus on words that you don't know. Okay, so draw when you're practicing at home. Okay, and for starters, when you start the passage, read the title and think about what you know regarding this topic. Okay, let's do that. So here's our passage for today, everybody. Let me just make sure you can see that all clearly. Diana, the screen should not be blank. It's definitely not blank for me. I don't think it's blank for everybody else. Mohammed, if you're stuck at 5, my first question is, are you just trying to skim read for answers? A lot of students who say, I'm stuck at 5, I very soon discover that all they're doing is looking at the questions and they're trying to skim read for answers. So Muhammad, are you skim reading? That's my first question. If you're not, then we can talk about using the right strategies. All right. So see Diana Chen saying, refresh your page. You might see better. Okay. All right. So everybody, here we go. Title of this passage is Berlin from 1945 to 1990. Okay. Berlin is what? Alexi says it's the regeneration of the capital after devastating World War II. Right, so we have to figure out what this means. Okay, so here the topic is Berlin from 1945 to 1990. Now, some very important events happened in that time period globally, right? Okay, so Berlin is the capital of Germany. Post World War II, right? Students, it's very important to know 20th century history. It shapes the world in a big, big way. What's happening in the world today, like with Ukraine and Russia and with many other parts of the world, not just there. It's shaped by the events of the 20th century. We're still living the post-war effects of World War I, World War II. So if you're not familiar with that history, I strongly recommend reading up on that, because that knowledge can be very useful for many different topics in the IELTS exam and many different topics in school and just in general understanding what's going on. Okay. Yeah, Menage, World War II ended 1945 October. That's right. Okay. All right. So capital of Germany post-World War II. And what happened in Germany post-World War II? So you should know, most of you, if you've graduated high school, should know this piece of information. So what happened with Germany? What happened with Berlin following the Second World War? Okay. Gagandeep, the general training is not much easier than the academic, especially not section 3 of the reading. Section 3 of the reading is very, very similar to the reading passages of the academic. Again, okay. Domenico says the Wall of Berlin was taken down. Yeah, that was close to 1990, right? Dylan, good. It was divided. Between Western powers and the Soviet Union, right? That's important to know. Yes, Wong, that's right. Germany was divided into several parts. Okay. All right. What were they called? What was one side? What was the other side? You should know that. It's fairly common knowledge. You see it in movies, TV, and such. Okay. And in a big way, what you're seeing today, it's still an effect or a result of that. Okay. Chan, not knowing anything about it is not understanding current world affairs. Even so, some people might be thinking, well, I live in Asia, like, you know, in China, Thailand, Taiwan, Vietnam. So what has this got to do with me? A lot of the current history of Asia as well is influenced by what happened as a result of World War II. So the rise of communism and the way that China was shaped, the defeat of Japan by the Americans at the end of World War II, the fight in Vietnam in the 70s by the USA, communism versus capitalism, North and South Vietnam, Korea, North and South Korea, the division there. That's all connected to this. It's all connected. So in order to understand world history, world politics, what's happening in the world today, like between China and Taiwan, this is all connected, everybody. So if you don't know about this, you should take a few hours over the next couple of weeks and read 20th century world history. Germany, Soviet Union, USA, it's not just Western history. Okay, it's a part of global history. All right. All right. Alexi, absolutely I'm encouraging for you to understand history because it's you, it's your life, it's your generation, it's the way the world is shaped around you. You need to know, you need to be informed. Okay? All right. So it's important. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what were they called? Let's see. West and East Germany, Amra. That's right. All right, and maybe you know that West Germany prospered, East Germany suffered. Okay, so West Germany was more prosperous, and East Germany, not so much. Maybe you know about the Berlin Wall. It was very, very important. So Berlin Wall divided Berlin, right? With the fall of the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall also fell. Okay. Now, students, again, so you're like, well, Adrian, why do I need to know this? Well, I mean, simply put, if you don't know this kind of basic world history, yeah, it's going to be hard to get a good score on the IELTS exam. Okay. If you have to learn this for the first time, these general facts in your academic IELTS, even if you're a native speaker, it's going to be hard. Do you understand what I mean, everyone? Okay, does that make sense? So not knowing basic world history with some of the major events in the last, let's say, 4,000 years will make it difficult for you. So instead of flipping through funny cat and mouse videos and reels that are 1 minute long, read a history book, okay? And I mean that in the most genuine way. So I want what's good for you, okay? All right? So make sure to do that. So you need to have this basic knowledge, all right, about Berlin and world history. People in power these days often don't necessarily want the public to know their history because then it's easier to control and manipulate, right? Not knowing, misinformation. It's easy to control people who are not informed or who don't understand what is happening and why it's happening, okay? A good point in case, by the way, is the Nuremberg Code, right? Following World War II, we had a very, very important document emerge called the Nuremberg Code. You should look that up. If people knew more about the Nuremberg Code, maybe everybody would not have been running to get vaccines in the last couple of years, okay? That's called the Nuremberg Code. You're like, what is he talking about? But if you read it, if you look up on it, you'll be like, whoa, really? We did that just recently? If people in the world would have known about that. Nuremberg Code of Ethics regarding human research and medical treatment came from or came as a result of World War II. Read on it and you'll be like, oh wow, why didn't people talk about that during COVID? Okay, all right. Here we go, students. So I don't want to fill your head with too much information before you read. We'll just read and learn, okay? So we've looked at the title. It's a very important 45 years. Berlin, 1945 to 1990. Okay. And then we look at the questions. Check this out. So here we have which paragraph contains the following information. Write the correct letter A to G. Okay. You can use any letter more than once. So maybe you have one paragraph where you have two answers. And here we have 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we have 7 questions. You cannot search for answers. It will take way too long because you will end up rereading the passage over and over, or re-skimming the passage over and over. How many of you do that where you're trying to skim read and you skim read the passage again and again and again and again, finding the answers. So how many of you do that where you're like, oh, I'm looking for a key word like Berliners, and then I start skim reading the passage and I skim it and I find it in the fourth paragraph. And then I'm looking for the word Soviet and I'm skim reading the paragraph or the passage again, and now I read it again 5 times. Okay. Alexi says it's an awful experience. Alex says I usually do that frequently. AJ says I do. Yeah, so that's not good. All right. You shouldn't be skim reading the passage 10 times. Of course you're going to run out of time. I would run out of time if I use that strategy. Okay. Think about it this way, students. It's faster. Okay. It is faster to read the passage clearly once and understand, let's say 70%, than to skim read the passage 10 times for answers. Okay, keep that in mind. All right. Okay. So when you're looking at these questions, which paragraph contains the following information? These are good to read nice and fast before the passage. This is reading, everybody, so read with me. We're going to do this together, okay? A treaty which allotted control of German territory to 4 countries, okay? Now, paraphrase this, right? So, an agreement, right? A treaty is an agreement. The way IELTS works is they keep paraphrasing. They keep using synonyms, descriptive paraphrasing, antonym negatives like stay, don't go. So various types of paraphrasing are used to match questions with the passage. Okay? So here, a treaty is the same as saying an agreement. Okay, if these are new words for you, write them down. So you should write down treaty equals agreement, usually between like countries or groups of people. Okay. AJ says, I forget what I read. I have memory like a goldfish. AJ, you need to visualize it, picture it, and you need to include yourself. We'll do that a little bit in just a moment. Okay. So a treaty which allotted control of German territory to 4 states. A treaty, or sorry, an agreement. You can do this with me. That gave control of German areas to 4 nations. Okay. Yeah, Aryan, absolutely. You should read the passage once before answering in like 8 to 10 minutes. Okay. A barrier is built between the 2 German nations. Okay, so what is that? Paraphrase that for me, everybody. Say that in another way. A barrier is built between 2 German nations. Yeah, Amra, it's the Berlin Wall. You're right. It's not probably. It is. Be confident, Amra. So simply a wall. And if you know it, then say it. So the Berlin Wall is built between East and West Germans. Okay? So sure, that's what we're talking about, right? So that's what you want to do. You keep going through and paraphrasing. Berliners are cut off from essential goods and services. So Germans are separated from necessary food and supplies. Okay? In the IELTS, in the real IELTS, you don't have enough time to write it down. So you're just paraphrasing in your head, right? Like Berliners are cut off from essential goods and services. Germans are separated from necessary food and supplies and services, okay? revolutions in other nations cause East Germany to demand change. So, civil uprising, revolution is a civil uprising, civil conflict, in other countries result in East Germany to want to change. The division of Germany into two parts, the separation of Germany into two halves, a push and pull between Soviet and Western interest in Germany, a tug of war between Soviet and American, British, French interest in Germany. The Allied powers bring millions of tons of supplies to the people of Berlin. So the Americans, the British, okay, again, you should know the Allied powers was the British, the Americans, the French, bring a lot of supplies to Berlin, okay? Now, then we have true, false, not given. True, false, not given, don't read it before the passage. There's no point. You don't know what's false. You don't know what's not given. There's absolutely no reason to skim read that. In fact, it's just bad. It will confuse you, okay? All right, everybody. So let's read this together. I'm going to read, you read with me, because then I will have volunteers afterwards reading and answering questions, okay? And we're going to do it together. Here we go, everyone. Norinsa, you will understand here if you're referring to me here, okay? All right. Here we go, everybody. If you don't understand every word, it's okay. Just stay the course. You will be fine. Okay? So, let's begin. After World War II, Germany became two countries. The western portion, controlled by three of the Allied powers, Britain, France, United States, named the Federal Republic of Germany, or more commonly, West Germany. And the eastern portion, controlled by the final Allied power, the Soviet Union, named the German Democratic Republic, but more commonly known as East Germany. The current German capital of Berlin, then located entirely in East Germany, was similarly divided between the Western powers and the Soviets. Okay, so here we have Germany. Germany is divided. On this side, we have the US, we have the UK, and we have France. On this side, we have the USSR. Okay, and here we have Berlin, which is also divided between the USSR and the Allied forces. Okay, everybody got the map in their head of Germany here? Everybody visualized it as you read this? You should. Make sure to see what you read. If you don't see what you read, you're not using the entire back of your brain. Okay, the back of your brain. The whole back part of your brain is visual processing. Okay, it's called your occipital lobe, everybody. I'm going to give you a quick insight into neuroscience and biology here. You've got your brain. This is the brain. Here's the eyeball. Woo. Okay, and this back part here, let me color it in for you. This back part of your brain, okay, this is the front here. This is your frontal lobe. That's your emotional control. Okay, and the back part here, this whole back region, it's called your occipital lobe. Your eyeball is here. Okay, your eyeball goes all the way back there. Your other eyes, all the way back there. They cross in the optic chiasm. We're not going to get into that too much, but And then you're in the occipital lobe here. That's why if you hit the back of your head really, really hard, hopefully that will never happen, the person can go blind. And there's nothing wrong with their eyes, but the processing center gets damaged. If you've ever hit the back of your head and you see stars, twinkle, twinkle, it's because nothing's wrong with your eyes. It's actually the back part of your brain that got shook up a little bit. And so the computer that processes your vision got shook up, okay? Your smell, just so you know, okay? So your touch sensors are here, okay? So that's your touch sensors, all right? Your hearing is here, okay? Your smell is here, okay? So your hearing, your smell, and your touch all together are a tiny part compared to the visual processor of your brain, okay? What does that mean? That means humans, we're not dogs, we're not bears, we don't smell very good, okay? We're not owls, we don't hear very good compared to other animals, but we sure see very well, okay? Our eyeballs are super powerful. So even when we hear information, when we read information, we want to change it into visual content because that's how we remember and use it. So when one of our students, I think it was AJ, said, I don't remember things when I read. You need to visualize more. Okay, if you're visualizing, you should remember. All right. Okay. We're not talking about the parietal or peripheral lobes. We're talking about the occipital lobe. The occipital, okay, for vision in the back. Okay. All right. So, visualize. Everybody saw Germany, right? Good. Let's read on. Here we go. All right. Paragraph B. World War II ended with the capture of Germany by the Allied powers. The natural question was, who would take control of the newly captured territory? The four most powerful Allied countries, Britain, the United States, France, and the Soviet Union, came to an agreement at the Potsdam Conference in May 1945. They divided the country roughly evenly in four parts. The British would control the northwest. The French would control the southwest. The Americans would control the southeast, and the Soviets would control the northwest. Northeast. Berlin was also partitioned. The French in the northwest, the British in the west, the Americans in the southwest, and the Soviets in the east. These divisions were never meant to be maintained in the long term, but they were. The division of Berlin became representative of the division of the world, divided between two superpowers, West and East. The US in the West and the USSR in the East. Hey, does that kind of sound like a familiar story in what's happening in the world today? Okay, so if you think about West and East division, we didn't have that in the world before World War II. People weren't like, oh, West and East. No, it's just the world. Now we have this, no, West and East. And the sooner we forget that, the sooner we forget that there's West and East, the sooner we start thinking that, hey, it's all one, okay? China is across the ocean from where I am in Canada, all right? For me, it's in the West. It's not in the East. So the sooner we forget, the sooner we can all become buddies again and figure out how to build a space station and take over the moon. Okay, so C, visualize, continue visualizing, right? Once allies, the Soviet and the Western countries could not agree on reparations agreement, a treaty which would punish the Germans through economic means. The Western countries wanted a relatively open German economy. That is, they wanted Germany to remain self-sufficient. The Soviets, on the other hand, wanted to punish the Germans for the millions of Soviet deaths suffered during the war. But such punitive measures are often cited as a key cause of the Second World War, as German reparations were humiliating and debilitating to the German economy and the German people. This resulted in hardship, poverty, violence, and ultimately the rise of Hitler. The Western nations did not want to see a repeat of such a humiliation. Because of this disagreement, negotiations between the two sides collapsed and ultimately diplomatic relations as well. The Western countries, in a response to the collapse in relations, merged their zones at a national level in 1947. In their combined zone, they advocated the revival of the German economy so that the German people were not completely reliant on financial aid. The Soviets feared this union because it gave the collective more power than the Soviets had in the region. Okay? So again, here you should be picturing, right, that you have this divided Germany between one side, the USSR, okay, and now instead of having multiple parts here between the US and the UK and France, you have one unified region, right? So the Soviets are like, oh, wait a second, you guys are teaming up on this side here. That's not fair. Now we're in a disadvantage. Does that sound like it has some similar kind of ring in modern world politics? Hey, you're teaming up. That's not fair. We should all be one big team and then we wouldn't have this situation. But anyway, you're learning. It's good if you haven't known this already. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. D. The tipping point for the Soviets was the introduction of a new currency in the Western zones. A day after this took place, the USSR imposed the Berlin Blockade, the first major international crisis of what came to be known as the Cold War. In response to the Confederation of Western Sectors, the Soviets blocked all rail, road, and marine access to the Western-controlled sections of Berlin. With the stroke of a pen, Berliners, 2.5 million of them, had no access to their basic needs of food, electricity, and medicine. So, start of the Cold War. And Gagandip's sleeping, but he'll sure wake up when rockets start flying all around the world because of this situation still affecting politics today. So when the Soviets and the Western powers got into this Cold War because of their economic interests, that's literally what's happening in Europe today. That's a continuation of that. So when there's a big boom, then Gagandip might wake up. Hopefully that won't happen and Gagandip can keep sleeping, right? All right. Let's hope. Let's hope that you won't need to understand this more. All right. Chen sending a rocket. Wake up, Gagandip. AJ says, what is Cold War? Cold War is basically still happening. So people think the Cold War ended, but it seems like maybe it hasn't. Because the conflict in Europe, arguably, is still a continuation of the Cold War. Okay, so there you go. Ramgaria says, oh, I'm sleeping. I'm not going to wake up until Russia starts launching this and that, or the US. People wake up eventually. All right. E, let's keep going. By the way, like you're thinking, oh, that's harsh, Adrian. Like, I can't believe you're saying that or whatever, right? It's not. Here's a hint for you. Okay. So, very important tip here for reading. Reading becomes much more effective when you become interested in what you read. And you include yourself. Okay? So, a lot of times when students don't do so well on the IELTS reading, and they understand the English, so they're like, I know the English, I have good English, I understand the vocabulary, but I just can't remember, I can't focus on the reading. It's because they're not interested. Okay? You have to make yourself interested. Interested in what you read, and you will remember and be able to use the information. So, for example, when we take a look at people who might be kind of feeling sleepy, like Ram Gahari or Gagandeep, right? Keep this in mind. The reason you are paying more for food today and gas as a result of the Russia and Ukraine conflict is because of the conflict of the Cold War between USSR and USA. Well, Western powers, but mostly USA. Okay, between USA, whereby Russia feels that the West did not keep their part of the agreement after the fall of the USSR. So, did you know that? That's why you're paying more for gas, more for food. That's why your money is not worth as much. That's why there's the conflict that's going on. Okay? And Ramgarhia, if you're in India, it's still affecting you. Okay? So you are not safe from that impact. Okay? All right. Catherine Borodi says, sir, you're so right about the past and current situation. Okay? All right. So here we go. So make it interesting, students. Make interesting what you read. Okay. Here we go. Let's keep reading. The Western response to this Soviet provocation was to institute what came to be known as the Berlin Airlift, a year-long effort that involved 700 aircraft to deliver supplies to the cut-off sections of Berlin. During this time, 270,000 flights delivered approximately 2.3 million tons of supplies to the city. Without this effort, Berliners would have starved. The introduction of the new currency and the resulting Berlin blockade and airlift were key causes of the hardening of relations between the Soviets and the West. Over the next decade, relations between the two sides deteriorated to the point that in 1961, the Berlin Wall was erected, and by the East Germans and Soviets between the two sections of the city, separating the Soviet-controlled East German section from the Western-controlled West German section. The wall would become a powerful symbol for the conflict between capitalism and communism, and between the United States and the USSR. The German people, once adversaries who drew the Soviets and Americans into common alliance, were now pawns in a dangerous game that was being played across the globe. Okay? The partition of Berlin lasted until 1989. Revolutions against communism in other Eastern European countries earlier that year brought about change in East Germany as well. The East German people revolted, and after weeks of protest, the East German government relented and opened up the border on 9th November 1989. Over the coming weeks and months, people gleefully chipped away at the wall. Demolition of the wall took 17 months to complete. German unification officially took place on 3rd of October 1990. What was once an ideological battleground between East and West would eventually become what we know Berlin as today, a singular cosmopolitan city of people working towards mutual prosperity. All right, good, students. So that's Berlin, 1945 to 1990, and it has a huge effect on current world affairs, on your pockets, on the money that you make. Very strongly related. Let's do a little bit of reading together and answering these questions. I'm going to teach you how to answer these questions, and we're going to do it together, okay? So to volunteer for reading, this is what you do. Alexi copied that into the chat for you, and I'm going to take some volunteers through the website, okay? So we're going to go to aehelp.com, and we will answer these questions. Yeah, thank you, Chen. Thank you, Alexi. Follow the instructions there, the instructions on the screen. So we go to aehelp.com. You can join the premium version of our IELTS package by clicking on the big red button there. That's just right above my head. Again, you only have to pay once. Doesn't cost a lot. You get tons of materials, videos, and help. And then once you're there, you're in your My Student account. You've got your computer-based practice exams. You've got your full interactive course. You've got a lot of goodies. And you've got this student partner speaking. Again, that's just right above my head there. Click on that. Except that you are going to be polite. Focus on the reading passage. And then I will get my headset on. Use a solid connection, so use Wi-Fi or a LAN connection. I highly recommend it. And then send me a little notification. Say, hey, I want to volunteer. Okay. Here you see Alexi volunteering, one of our premium students on the website, also one of our moderators. So let's give Alexi a chance here for all the hard work that he does. Again, moderators, remember, I always tell you this, just because you're a moderator doesn't mean you can't volunteer. So Alexi, are you ready? Okay, all right. All right, Ariana, I will be looking for you as well.
Hear me?
Hi, Alexi. Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Well, I'm also. What about you?
I am good. Alexi, can you remind me, what country are you in right now?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Which country are you in right now?
Currently, I'm living in Poland.
In Poland. So in Poland is pretty close to all of this action that we're talking about in this passage, right?
Yeah.
So you probably know a little bit more about this history. I'm assuming, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, it's I'm sure in Polish, like in, what would you say, grade 9, 10, 11, 12, they teach these topics in school, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And what's kind of funny, I'm sure you'll agree with me, is that every European country, and Russia included, of course, and US, has a little bit of a different version of this story, right?
Okay. Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to answer some questions, Alexi, and I'm going to get you to help me with the questions, and we'll include some reading here as well, okay? So in the IELTS, it's really important that we use just what we see in front of us, right? And IELTS tries to maintain a neutral perspective, of course. Okay, let's go to this first question here in the question set. Could you read the question instructions and question 14? You don't need to read the paraphrase, just the question that I underlined.
Write the correct letter A to G in boxes 14 to 20 on your answer sheet. A treaty which allotted control over German territory to 4 countries.
Okay, good. So Where do you think the answer is for this statement? Where would we find this
I
in the passage?
remember it's somewhere in the start of this passage,
Okay, good.
the second or third paragraph.
Okay, good. All right, good. So we have, I think, 7 paragraphs altogether, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So 7, right? So what you want to do for this type of question when you see it, everyone, is you want to picture the passage in thirds. Okay, this is a good way to do it. So you visualize the information as what we were doing. And then you have paragraph A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, more or less like that, right? And then what you want to do is you want to kind of divide the passage into thirds so that you're not skim reading the whole passage if you have to look. So just like Alexi just said, he said, I think it's in the first third. So you think, right, it's in the first third of the passage. And maybe like paragraph 2 or 3, so B or C. And that makes sense logically, right? Because first paragraph would be an introduction of the topic, and then it would discuss early on how it was divided or what happened, right? So it makes sense to look at paragraph B for this, for sure. So let's do it. So we're looking for a treaty or an agreement, right, of sorts. Okay. All right. So let's do that. So B, can you read paragraph B for me?
Yeah, sure. World War II ended with the capture of Germany by the Allied powers. The natural question was who would take control of the newly captured territory. The four most powerful Allied countries, Britain, the United States, France, and the Soviet Union, came to an agreement at the Potsdam Conference in May 1945. They divided the country roughly evenly in 4 parts. The
Okay,
British
we can
controlled
stop there. We can stop there, Alexi. I'm sure you realize that, I've read the question, right? So the word treaty, did we see the word treaty here?
Not, but it's similar to agreement.
Exactly, just like what we paraphrased before we read the passage, right? When I was showing that you should paraphrase those concepts because that's how you will see it, right? So you see the word agreement here. You don't see treaty, but you see the word agreement. And so you know that paragraph B is probably a good answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're confident, you put B, and then you move to the next one, and that's exactly how you solve these answers, Alexi. Okay, so we're taking obviously a lot longer here than the 20 minutes in the IELTS exam, but in the IELTS, you would read the passage in 8 minutes and then continue just like this for each question, and you can do it in under 1 minute for sure. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Alexi, thanks for moderating, and thanks for showing us how to do that first question. We'll find somebody else for the next couple, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Alexi.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. All right. That was Alexi. That was really good. Aryan is really ambitious here. Is Aryan still here? No, Aryan's disappeared. Okay. All right, let's try somebody else. Let's try Fuang here. Students, we've got lots of questions, so hang in there. Fuang, are you ready? All right, so stay in there, students. We're going to do lots of reading, and you will have a chance. Fuang, if you're there, let me know. Good job, Alexi. Yeah. All right, Fuang, here we go.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Fuang. How are you?
I'm doing great today. How about you, sir?
Pretty good. Now, Fuang, you're over in Vietnam, right?
Yes, sir. I'm located in Ho Chi Minh City.
In Ho Chi Minh City. Fuang, have you learned about World War history, European global history at that time during the 20th century?
Yes, sir. In high school, if I'm not mistaken, in the 12th grade, I was learn about World War One and World War Two in Western country.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not surprised. Vietnam, of course, has some really closely connected history in the 20th century as well, right? Because of course, the United States went into Vietnam in the 70s during the Vietnam War, and northern Vietnam was heavily supported and supplied by the Russians, right? Or the Soviets, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right, so there's a lot of connection there. Okay, Phuong, let's read 15. Go for it.
Okay, sir. Fitting a barrier is built between the two German nations.
Okay, so, and we know that there we're talking about the Berlin Wall, right? So whereabouts is this information coming from?
Well, I think it's come from the paragraph F or E, sir.
Okay, good. So you're thinking it's more from like the middle or even closer to the end, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's logical because it makes sense, right? So first we introduce the concept, then there are these divisions that are happening, right? So the Allied powers are taking control of the west part, USSR is taking control of the east part. Then they start to kind of disagree with each other on what to do and how to do, and eventually the situation gets more and more intense, and then finally the east part, the Soviets say, hey, that's enough is enough, we're going to put a wall between the two sides here, right? So it has to come a little bit later when it's becoming really intense, right? So good. So here I'm looking for the second or third of the passage with you, and specifically I can look for Berlin Wall, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree, Phuong, that Berlin Wall is a good word to look for in this case when we realize that the barrier is the Berlin Wall?
I read, sir, when you were reading the paragraph, I take notes on my book, so I remember a little bit.
Okay, good. So you said E or F. So here you're skim reading for the Berlin Wall. Can you skim read paragraph E? Don't read it, just skim read it with your eyes. Do you see the words Berlin Wall in paragraph E?
Paragraph F, sir.
Okay, so you don't see it in paragraph E, right? But you see it in paragraph F. Can you read the sentence where you see it in paragraph F?
Can you scroll? Okay. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was erected by the East Germans and Soviets between the two sections of the city.
Very nice, okay? Exactly. Now, here's a tip, Phuong. You should always read the full sentence. So you should read from over the next decade, relations between the two sides deteriorated to the point that in 1961, the Berlin Wall was erected by the East Germans and Soviets between the two sections of the city, separating the Soviet-controlled East German section from the Western-controlled West German section. So always read the full sentence, okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, don't read partial sentences. And that's a tip for everybody. Don't be partial. Read the full sentence. That will also help you with future questions, okay?
Okay, sir, got it.
All right, because one sentence is one concept. If you read only part of that, it could create issues and you could get wrong answers, okay? All right, Phuong, so F is correct, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. All right, Phuong. That's very good. Let's give somebody else a chance for number 16, okay? And thank you so much for volunteering. I hope you have an awesome rest of the day in Ho Chi Minh.
Have a nice day, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye, Phuong.
Bye-bye, sir.
All right, so that's Phuong. See, Phuong from Vietnam, she's learned about world history in that era, obviously. Very good. Okay, let's try Artie. We've got lots of questions here, and let's see. We'll take more volunteers. Artie, are you ready? Let me know. Okay. We're putting along nicely. At this speed, we will answer all of these questions, and you will really get an idea of how to do this. Okay, thanks for the thumbs up, everybody. Artie, if you're still there, let me know. I'll give you 5 seconds to respond, and then we'll give Helen an opportunity here. Chayani, I see you there too, so don't worry. Hang in there. We've got enough questions for every volunteer so far. All right. Artie, I don't see you, so let me try Helen. Helen, are you ready? And sometimes it's a good idea to refresh this page. I might have to refresh it in a little bit here. But it looks like it's all working fine right now. Helen says yes. Hello, Helen. Are you there? Helen, I don't hear you, so I'm still not too sure about your setup. Helen, can you just discuss with Chen, Carolina, or Lexi a little bit about what's going on with your connection so that they can maybe help figure out how to have you join in on these chats? Okay, Helen? Don't give up. Just ask for some advice, okay? All right. Perrin, are you ready? Okay. Students, in some places you might need a VPN. Okay, you might need to VPN through Canada or through the US or some other country. Okay. Perrin, if you're there, let me know. I see that you've got your hand up. You even used the little emoji in the chat there. So Perrin, if you're still there, let me know. You might need to refresh, especially students if you're using a mobile phone and you're using a data connection and you're playing YouTube and you're using a website with chat. Might be on the tougher side to connect for sure. Okay, Perrin, if you're there, let me know. We'll do a 5 count. All right, no dice. Chayani, are you there? Be patient, students. You get a turn. We've got 11 more questions to go, I think. So Yanni, if you're there, give me a sign. You can see we've got more and more students joining in. I know there's a 6-second delay, so sometimes it takes a moment.
Hello, Sir Adrian.
Hi, Yanni. How are you?
I'm doing fine today. Thank you for asking. And how about yours?
I am doing fantastic. Yanni, how much did you learn about 20th century history in Germany and Berlin, just out of curiosity?
Well, it's been a long time since I graduated from high school in 2021. I think it's around 11th grade of high school.
But you did learn a bit.
Yeah, I learned like only half because I hate history actually.
You can't hate history. We're a product of history. We are a product of history. All right, Yanni, let's do a question or two here. So here we go. Can you read 16, please, for us?
Berliners are cut off from essential goods and services.
Okay, good. So Berliners are cut off from essential goods and services. Now you read the paragraph with us. So what is this talking about? What does this mean? What information is this statement referring to in the passage?
So in the passage is presented that Berliners are not able to access the main goods or services during that time.
Right. Okay, because of something, I think it was called the Berlin blockade, if I'm not mistaken. It was something like that. Now, this is detailed history, right? So this level of detail, even I don't remember. And then what did the West do? So what did the Americans and the French and the Germans do when they were cut off from these goods and services?
I think it's about Cold War, I guess.
Well, it's about the Cold War, right? But you have the city of Berlin, and then you have the people. They're not able to get the supplies like food and electricity and all that. And the Americans and the French and the British who were helping Western Berlin, especially, what did they do? They did something very special.
They blocked all rail and road, and
the Soviets did that. So the Soviets blocked all the roads and all the railways and the water access, or every kind of access to get. So what did the Americans do? You should remember this from the passage. If you don't, you really have to work on your visualization, Yanni, if you don't remember this, because it was very visual, very, very visual. Carolina's giving you a little bit of help there in the chat as well.
they send a food.
Yes, they sent food. And how did they send it?
I don't remember, sir.
All right. Well, I'm going to help you out here. Read this E. So just read E for me, please. It's on the screen in one moment here.
The Western response to Soviet provocation was to institute what came to be known as the Berlin Airlift, a year-long effort that involved 700 aircraft to deliver supplies to the cut-off section of Berlin. During this time, 270,000 flights delivered approximately 2.3 million tons of supplies to the city. Without this effort, Berliners would have starved.
Okay, so wait, don't rush, Yanni. So this paragraph E is extremely visual. When you read this paragraph, Yanni, in the real IELTS, what you should be seeing is the airplane. And who's flying the airplane?
The pilot.
Who's the pilot?
Maybe I can visualize myself.
Yes, that's right, Yanni. There you are. Look, you're waving at the people in Berlin, and you're dropping in the food. Okay, so there's the parachute. There's the big box full of food. You're waving at the Berliners, and you're the pilot. Okay, so that's what you should be seeing. Because you weren't able to answer those questions I was asking you, Yanni, and it's not just you, Yanni, so this is, of course, for everybody. I'm just taking this situation to show an example here. So it basically means that you forgot this entire paragraph. So paragraph E was a short paragraph, very visual, and it seems to me like you completely forgot it. So me, as the instructor, of course, I have to ask my question, why? Why does a student like Yanni forget an entire paragraph like this? What's happening, right? And the first thought that comes to my mind, Yanni, is that you're just not there. You're not in the information, right? So you have to change that when you're practicing reading, and especially when you're in your real IELTS exam. You cannot be separated from what you're reading. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I got it, sir.
Okay, so you have to be in it. You can't be forgetting entire paragraphs like this. So E is about the help, right? It's about dropping the food. But the statement isn't about that. The statement is about blocking the people. So we can logically figure out that comes before, right? So first the Soviets block the food and the supplies, and then the West drops the food and the supplies. You are the pilot. You are dropping it, right? So go ahead and read paragraph D for me, Yanni.
Can you scroll up?
It's coming.
Okay. The tipping point for the Soviet was the introduction of a new currency in the Western zone. A day after this took place, the USSR imposed the Berlin Blockade, the first major international crisis of what came to be known as the World War. In response to the Confederation of Western Sector, the Soviets blocked all rail, road, and marine access to the Western controlled section of Berlin. With the stroke of a pen, Berliners, 2.5 million of them, had no access to their basic needs of food, electricity, and medicine.
Okay, so we very quickly know now that the answer is D, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so, and you should not have to skim read the whole passage for that. That should be extremely fast because you're the pilot. You're helping those poor people that are not able to get food and other supplies. You're dropping it in from the airplane. You're waving at them. You're like, hey, Berliners, I'm Yanni. I'm here to help you people. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Yanni, thank you so much for volunteering. I really want you to practice that visual reading, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye, Yanni.
Okay.
Thank you.
Goodbye, sir. See you.
All right. Visual reading, everybody. So important, okay? All right. Let's try Hako. See if he is available. Hako, are you ready? So again, students, hang in there. We're going to take some more students. We've got time. We're going to try to finish all of these questions, okay? All right. Yes, that's right, Chen. The difficulty increases with each passage, and one way that they increase the difficulty of passages in the IELTS students is by making them less visual. So passage 3 is often much less visual than passage 1. Often passage 1 will be some kind of very visual topic like volcanoes or buildings or some kind of an ocean or geographic feature. So something that you can easily see and picture. And then paragraph 3 might be a concept. So something about philosophy or psychology that's more difficult to visualize. Okay. It's one way to make it more challenging. Dako, are you there? I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Dako, what kind of a system are you using? Can you hear me? Question mark. Because I can't hear you. You can still use the chat to let me know what's going on. Yeah, so Hako, if you can hear me and I cannot hear you, it means, well, first of all, make sure that you're hearing me through the website and not through YouTube, right? If you hear me through YouTube, then your system isn't set up right. Okay, so pay attention. If you hear me through the website and I can't hear you, that means that your microphone is not set up right. Okay, so check that out, students. All right. Okay. Let's try Prabesh. Prabesh, are you ready? Okay. Students, you have to check your settings. There's a lot of settings that you need in place. Like you need to have your permissions for the website. You need to enable your microphone, your speaker. You need to make sure that you have a good connection, right? So there's lots of settings to deal with. Make sure you check all of them. Prabesh.
Yes, sir. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. All right, Prabesh, are you ready to answer some reading questions?
Yes, I'll try my best.
All right, that's exactly what you want to do. Okay, so go ahead and read 17 when you have a chance. It'll be up on the screen in just a moment here.
Question number 17, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So it said revolutions in other nations caused East Germany to demand change.
Okay, so where do you think this is in the passage? First third, second third, or the last third, the third third?
Actually, I was not there during when you go through all the passages, so I cannot really say.
Fair enough. You know what? Fair enough. Prabesh, here's an important tip, strategy for your IELTS. Use logic. Okay? Even if you haven't read this passage completely, if you use logic, you can take a pretty good guess with this content. Okay? So revolutions in other nations cause East Germany to demand change. If we're talking about the history of Berlin and Germany in the 20th century, when do you think this is happening? What time? At the start, in the middle, or the end?
Somewhere at the end.
Yeah, it
Okay.
makes sense, right? That's kind of the climax of the story. Change happens, right? That's always the kind of the end of the story, right? There's a situation, there's a problem, there's some kind of a conflict, a solution, and change happens. So when you see this revolutions cause East Germany to demand change, it makes sense that it's maybe somewhere near the end. Okay, yeah, absolutely. So go ahead and let's look at the end. So here in the real IELTS, ideally you'd be looking at F and G. Let's just jump right to G. So go ahead and read G for me. You'll see it on the screen in a second.
Paragraph Z. Would you scroll a little bit? Yeah, okay, fine. And I can see it here.
Mm-hmm.
The partition of Berlin lasted until 1989. Revolution against communism in other Eastern European countries earlier that year brought about change in East Germany as well. The East German people revolted, and after weeks of protest, the East German government relented and opened up the border on 9 November 1989.
Okay, let's stop
Over
there.
the coming weeks,
Nope,
yeah.
we can stop there. So G, you agree? It's a good one?
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's telling you exactly what that statement just said. So we put G. So here, the important point is that logic is very useful in the IELTS exam to figure it out. Okay, read 18 for me, Prabesh. It's coming up on the screen.
18.
Yeah, you'll see
The
it.
division of Germany in two parts.
Okay, good. Again, where do you think you would see that? Beginning, middle, or end? The division of Germany into two parts.
I think it might be somewhere at the beginning because it's talking about the division of Germany.
Yeah, see, Prabesh, I can tell you're a very logical person. What kind of studies are you into? What are you focusing on in your university or in your school?
Actually, I'm about to finish my BSc in agriculture. That was my major, and I've given a final examination.
Okay, Bachelor of Science in Agriculture?
Yeah.
Okay, and would you say that you need to use a lot of logic in Bachelor of Science of Agriculture?
Actually, in agriculture, we deal more with plants and animals, their history and their mechanism of working.
Mm-hmm.
Not about the history of the.
I know that.
But then.
But lots of logic. I'm sure you need a lot of logic, right? Especially in a Bachelor of Science degree, right? So, like that animal ate that plant. The animal died. Logically, the plant might be poisonous for that animal, right? Maybe, right? So you need a lot of logic. Yeah, that was a sad example, but yeah, a lot of logic. So the division of Germany into two parts, kind of at the beginning, right? I would agree. I would probably have that logic too. Okay. Read A. You'll see it in a second.
Okay. After World War II, Germany became two countries. Yeah, it mentioned up there at the first sentence. The western portion, controlled by three of the Allied powers, Britain, France, United States, named the Federal Republic of Germany, or more commonly Western Germany, and the eastern portion, controlled by the final Allied power, the Soviet Union, named the German Democratic Republic, but more commonly known as Eastern Germany.
Perfect.
Current German capital of Berlin.
Yeah, that's fine. We can stop there. Clearly, it's A, right? So that's how the story starts. Yes, Germany is divided into two pieces. So we've got A there. So that makes a lot of sense, right? And, a lot of people, when they see a topic like this, like Berlin, 1945 to 1990, especially if they're, in some part of the world where you don't study as much European history, like maybe in India, I'm not sure, or Nepal or something like that, people get scared. They're like, hey, this isn't fair. But it's not that bad. You just have to kind of stay calm and focus on logic and paying attention. It's like reading any other history book, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's how you do it. So see, even without reading the passage, you can answer these questions. Just keep a sense of logic about you, right?
Yeah.
All right, Prabesh, thank you so much for volunteering. That was awesome. Thumbs up. Thumbs up to all of our volunteers. Thanks, Prabesh.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye, Prabesh. All right, so keep a sense of logic, right? Okay, let's try somebody else. Let's see if Amanda's here. Amanda, are you ready? Just like that, students. Step by step, you practice like that at home. You keep doing it and you'll be just fine. All right, Amanda says yes. Awesome. Amanda, I will call you. Don't worry. Hello, Amanda. Students, don't try not to cross call each other because then you're gonna create some issues in the system potentially. Amanda, I'm gonna try to call you again, okay? Just don't get too call happy here. All right, let's give the system a second. Okay, Amanda, I'm not sure what happened there, but it could have been all that calling, okay? All right, I'll circle back to you, Amanda. Refresh your page, okay? I'm going to try Harjot here. Are you ready, Harjot? If you're there, I'll call you, students. Don't call me. That becomes messy. Okay, perfect.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Harjot. How are you?
I'm great. What about you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. All right, Harjot, here we go. Are you ready for some Q&A action?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll leave 19 and 20 for everybody to try on their own for those matching to paragraphs. And we'll jump to the true, false, not given questions. Everybody loves those questions. Harjot, do you love those questions?
Yes, sir.
I love it, Harjot. That's a positive attitude. All right. Of course, Harjot and I are joking here. A lot of people don't really like these questions, but they're not bad. They're not bad. Harjot, you've been in these classes a few times, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you learned the strategy for true, false, not given?
Yes. I think try to answer them by your own experience.
Kind of. It's if this then that. It's computer logic, right? If this then that. It's kind of a two-step logic. And so you have to first figure out if the information is
Given.
exactly
Or not given.
exactly right. So you have to first figure out if the information is given or not given. One of the problems is people try to figure all of them out at the same time, like true, false, not given. And that's a problem. You want to separate it into a two-step process. So first you want to figure out if it's given or not given, right? How do you figure that out, Harjot?
Yes, sir. Read the question carefully.
Yeah, that's definitely a good step. Read it carefully. Yes, that's a good step. And then once you read it carefully, then what do you do?
Ask yourself, is it given or not?
Yeah, or to be a little bit clear, you ask yourself, is it important for this passage? Like, if you're the author, if I'm the author on this topic, would I include this information? Is it too much detail? Is it off topic? Or is it important? Is it the right information? So that's what you have to figure out. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's tricky. But for at least a few of these, you can kind of figure it out. Okay? All right.
Yes,
so read 21 for us.
Pre-World War II, Germany was divided into two separate nations after the war.
Okay, so here you have to ask yourself, is it important? Now, Harjot, here's a really good trick, and this is for everybody. When you ask yourself if it's important, ask yourself with the full question. So say, is it important to know whether or not pre-World War II, Germany was divided into two separate nations? So ask yourself that question,
Is it important?
Nice and loud, Harjot. Don't be shy. So nice and loud. Say the whole question.
Is it important that Germany was divided into two two separate parts during pre-World War II? I think yes, sir.
So here the question, of course, is when was Germany divided into two? Yes, it's important. So it's given, right? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I agree with you. I think it's going to be given as well. Now, here's the interesting part. Now we have to figure out, as the second step, whether or not it's true or false, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so again, when you want to figure out whether it's true or false, you want to ask yourself the full question. You're going to see why I'm doing this. It's logical, okay? So ask yourself the full question.
Is it
true nice and loud, Harjot. Yeah.
Is it true or false? Maybe. Yeah, it's true, sir.
No, and you're not asking the full question. That's why you're making a mistake. Ask the full question. Is it true that Germany... Keep going.
Is it true that Germany
was divided
into two part
nation
two separate nations after the war?
Before pre-World War II. Germany was divided into two separate nations after the war. Is it true? Yes, it's true. You are correct. I'm kidding.
Yes, sir.
But I want you to ask I want you to always ask the full question, okay? It's very important because otherwise you can make mistakes. So pre-World War II, Germany was divided into two separate nations after the war. True, right? Important to know, and it's true. The first one is sometimes easier, so you can figure it out quickly. And the problem that happens, Harjot, is because the first one is easier and people can figure it out quickly, they don't use the correct strategy. And that's why it's kind of being hard on you. Because if you don't use the full strategy for the next questions, you won't be so lucky. Some of those ones have some tricky words like negative words, where it will confuse you if you don't ask the full question or you miss a piece of the question. Do you kind of follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's kind of like math in this case. You know how when you're learning math in school, the math teacher is always telling you to go through all of the steps, right?
Yes, sir. Use correct formula for trigonometry.
Exactly, right? And you know how like some students, what they do when they're learning math is they start to use shortcuts, so they don't go through all the steps. They get lazy or they want to be fast, so they don't go through all the steps, and then the math teacher gets kind of angry that you're not showing all of your work on the paper or on the computer. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Right? And then what happens is when you get into more difficult math in grade 12, then suddenly the answers are wrong because the students are not going through all the steps. Do you get what I'm saying with that?
Yes, sir. Got you, sir.
Got it? So it's the exact same with these true, false, not given. You have to go through all of the steps for each one so that you can maximize. And in the IELTS, you have 20 minutes. So I know people are like, I don't have enough time. But you do. So you have to be quick. You have to be like, is it important that pre-World War II Germany was divided into two separate nations after the war? Yes, that's important. It's given. Is it true or is it false that pre-World War II Germany was divided into two separate nations after the war? Yes, it's true. It was divided in 1945 in March or April or May or something that it said. So it's true. And then I go through all of them the same way. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I was thinking, what the meaning of pre-World War II?
Okay, so pre means before World War II. Okay, so pre-World War II Germany means the way Germany was before World War II. So visually, it means like before World War II, Germany looked like that, let's say, right? And then after the war, it was separated into two, right? So yes, it was. Yeah. So that's how you want to visualize it. Okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. So do you know what the opposite of pre is? So if the question, for example, said this instead of pre, post World War II. That's the opposite.
Post World War.
Okay. So pre means before, post means after. Good question. Okay.
After.
All right.
Okay,
So
sir.
if the question said post World War II Germany was divided into two separate nations after the war, is it true? That's probably still true in this case. It's a
Still
tricky
true.
one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
True.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Harjat, for helping me prove that very important point of order of operations. You always want to go through all of the steps with these true, false, not given. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. Harjat, have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you for volunteering and thanks for that question.
Okay, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye, Harjat. All right. So students, just like your math teacher, okay, you must go through the steps for each question effectively and quickly, okay? You cannot change your strategy and you cannot take a shortcut in your strategy, all right? So for the remaining 4 true, false, not given questions, use that strategy. Figure out if it's given or not given. If it's not given, mark not given, move on. If it's given, figure out if it's true or not, all right? And my last tip of the day, it's a very important one, okay? It's the last tip of the day, and it's an important one. Always go through the entire strategy for each question type, okay? No shortcuts, all right? Very important, okay? No shortcuts, just like your math teacher. Remember your math teacher. I know high school was a ways for some people, but remember your math teacher. Okay, everybody. So again, that's aehelp.com to join the premium package there. Click the big red button that's just right above me there. It's a one-time payment. You get all the videos, all the strategies, no ads, no interruptions, in a nice structured way. For general IELTS, check out gieltshelp.com. Students, tomorrow we will have task 2 writing for subscribers. Thank you to all my volunteers. Thank you for hanging in there in this challenging and provocative class on Berlin and world history. Thank you, moderators. Again, aehelp.com, gieltshelp.com. That's where you get the best IELTS help today. And I will be back tomorrow with another live class. My name is Adrian. I'm signing out from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. Keep up the good studies, everybody, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.